Live. We are live. Hello, 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 hello. Hi.
We're on the internet,
We are on the internet.
live and online.
Yeah,
We're alive.
we are
Probably,
alive.
probably. I don't know. Could be dreaming. Everyone's too polite. Tell me I need to wake up. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So today we're gonna talk about Shazam 2, Fury of the Gods.
Yep.
Um, but you know, before that, we're gonna briefly talk about something that if you haven't heard about, you definitely will soon. It's something that is not gonna go away. It's not gonna disappear. It's not gonna be like cloning in the '90s where we discuss whether we do or don't want to keep it around or do it. It's gonna be used in most industries, and it is AI.
Oh, got it.
AI, it's a big thing, right? It's a big thing.
Yeah. Yep.
And it it can be used for good and it can be used for bad.
Yep.
And it most certainly will be used for bad by
Like all
bad
like all
actors.
things. Yep.
Yeah. Think about it like nuclear weapons in the '80s, right? Like the arms race or the space race, if you want to do something a little less terrifying, which was
Yeah.
still terrifying, I'm sure, at the time.
Yep.
But yeah, it will be a thing where countries are fighting for the technology and to keep it away from, the United States would try to keep it away from places like Russia and China,
Yep.
because it can be dangerous. Chat or AI can be used for really bad things, but that's not what we're here to talk about. I asked Chat GPT, which is the biggest AI source right now, to write a script for our podcast.
Oof.
Did you get it?
That's right. I did. I read it. I thought I responded to it, but I guess I forgot to. Sorry, it was a long day. I dropped my parents off at the airport, and you know how that goes. It's always a busy day when you
Oh
go to the
yeah,
airport.
yeah,
It's always a busy day when you go to the city airport.
yeah.
Um,
What a
Oh,
nightmare.
but I did read it, and I was just like, man, like it's so basic.
It is very basic, yeah. Essentially,
It's like we don't just man. It'd be great if it could just follow a strict structure like that.
yeah,
That'd be a really positive turning point for most of our like 10, 15 listeners, probably.
yeah. So it was pretty funny. What the fuck? I didn't send this. Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah, it pretty much we're just talking about our favorite superhero movies, and we both said Endgame is our favorite for some reason, which is not true.
No,
Um,
not at all.
but yeah, it's pretty basic, and it can only write so much before it airs out. And maybe that's just because I don't pay for it, but yeah, that's it. You guys can use it for a variety of things. If you're interested, you can sign up for the free version of it, and like it does some pretty cool things. You can like just say, hey, I have these ingredients in my fridge, and it'll give you a recipe.
Hmm.
Like it's pretty cool. If you're interested and you want to mess around in there before every industry you work in starts using it for everything else. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
think I think some industries will be okay, and they'll use this more as like a new tool in the toolbox to draft lengthy things that they even normalized wouldn't have to draft themselves. Like there's a lot of bureaucratic technical writing that goes on these days.
yeah.
Some people in contracts may. I think the most important, the hardest hit industry though is probably going to be basic copywriting, like the social media management stuff. Like it's so easy to do yourself when you can get an AI to hook up and do most of your posting for you,
Well, yeah,
because like
that and students in college are going to use it to write papers for them. I
papers,
mean,
yeah,
they're
exactly.
obviously gonna, if they're smart, they're gonna read it and edit it and make sure that they're not doing word for word, and that that they're including sources and everything else so that they don't
Yeah.
just get destroyed by their professors.
It's like what I do when I'm posting on my. I use chat. I use Chat GPT. I don't use it to write podcast scripts. It sound really basic, but I actually use it for my Eventually, when I'm gonna get my Facebook page auto posting. I'm sure you've seen it before, but you've seen me share a couple posts. It's all text, and that's a Chat GPT post. I
On
just I
Facebook,
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
just type
seen
it.
it. I never
Yeah,
log into my Facebook. It's
yeah.
pretty much deactivated.
Yeah, no worries at all. But I just type it up and then I like type up do a Facebook post about like 5 good reasons to buy a home in this market, and then I'll give you a bunch of
Yeah.
data, and it sounds really professional and good and great. And then I add in some personal touches to make it a little more flary to make the sentences feel less clunky, and I'm just kind of good at that because I'm just and I understand the process of writing, so I
Yeah.
understand how to make a sentence flow from one to the other.
And
Um,
you can even like tell it like, hey, what, like the prompt you gave it, and then once it's done, say this was too wordy, like make it shorter,
yeah.
and like it'll do it. Or you can say like this is too professional, like write it like how a 20-year-old would write it or something, and it'll change it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like I like how professional it sounds though, like the original product. It really does. It's like pretty cool.
Yeah. But that brings us to Shazam, and so before we talk about it, I just want to talk about some of the news surrounding it,
Mm,
because all I've seen this past week is just news shitting on Shazam.
yeah.
And so there's some other news like about The Rock and stuff like that, and we can talk about that too. But headlines, include it being a flop. Um, a bunch of other garbage about why it failed, why it's a failure, how it stumbled with a 30.5 million debut, which is really low to be fair.
Mm,
What else? There's just so much. There's so much. But the biggest thing I is the stuff about The Rock, right? I don't know if you've seen
mm.
any of this, but
I haven't seen any of that news. No, I'm recently back on Instagram, so I'm catching up on everything. Eventually, I'm sure that the good news will start flowing through. But right now, I'm still flying pretty blind.
yeah, so I'll start like midway through this article, so we can shave off some of the fat. But essentially, it says it's no secret that The Rock had his heart set on fighting Henry Cavill's Superman in a future DC movie, regardless of the fact that Black Adam is Shazam's ultimate nemesis in the comics. However, a
Mm,
new report from The Wrap indicates just how little Johnson seemed to care about the source material. According to high-level Hollywood insiders, which I hate that shit, but one of Black Adam's post-credits tags was supposed to include Zachary Levi's Shazam. In this version, the surviving members of the Justice Society would enlist the hero to join their ranks, presumably setting the stage for Levy and Johnson to duke it out on screen like their comic book counterparts.
mm,
Such a move would have gone a long way towards generating excitement for Shazam Fury of the Gods, which finally premiered in theaters last week. Unfortunately, The Rock shot the idea down, which may have caused a domino effect throughout the larger DC universe. The Wrap speculates that Johnson's actions might be partly to blame for Shazam 2's underwhelming box office performance. I don't put much stock in that, to be honest. All this stuff about blaming The Rock for Shazam not making good money. It's all stupid. There's one reason Shazam didn't make a lot of money. One reason. Stop blaming The Rock, James Gunn, everything else. It's Warner Brothers. They are to
mm.
blame for the shithousery that is DC Films. Anyway,
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
one source even remarked, Dwayne tries to sell himself as bigger than the movie. He's one of the few people who always thinks he's the most important person in any situation or room. In the end, it was Cavill's Superman who showed up in Black Adam's mid-credit scene, but his appearance is going absolutely nowhere as James Gunn is rebooting the Superman franchise in 2025. Not only that, there was another bit of news around this, that apparently Black Adam was okay. So essentially, right, the gas station post-credit scene. Spoiler alert: if you haven't
Mm,
watched the movie, there's a post-credit scene where people from Argus try to recruit Shazam for the Justice Society. Apparently, that was a last-minute change because they wanted the characters from the Justice Society to show up to recruit him.
mm.
And apparently The Rock vetoed that.
Huh.
And I know what you guys maybe are thinking, and if you're not, you should be thinking it. How does The Rock have that power, and who gave him that power? Right? The Rock had so much power before they brought in James Gunn and Peter Safran to take control that he would just go to Warner Brothers execs and get anything he wanted.
Yeah, pretty
Right.
much.
And there was another article. It's not here, and I'm not gonna look for it. But essentially, someone inside of DC who works at DC said, The Rock's ego was so big, and he wanted to restructure the DC universe around him and Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, it's just crazy that the fact that he had this much power, the fact that he didn't want Shazam to be anywhere near his Black Adam. It's so weird. And even Zachary Levi, he responded to some of these rumors, and he essentially posted on his story on Instagram a screenshot of the quotes from some of these articles, and he wrote, "The truth will set you free," or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much like just saying, yeah, it's true. Like, this is how it is. I don't know. The Black Adam should have been in a Shazam movie and not have gotten his own movie. All of it is dysfunctional and stupid. And again, one person to blame: Warner Brothers.
Yeah, the thing is, like, Black Adam shouldn't just been one, like, super controlled project top down from Dwayne The Rock Johnson. It should have been part of the bigger story that they were trying to tell for the DCEU, and they didn't tell that at all. And if it just wanted to be Superman and Black Adam, that's not really, like, the DCEU, but it's what it is. It was a shit show. We've known it's been a shit show. It's been a really bad time for a long time, to be honest.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know what else to say, because it's kind of like Star Wars at this point. We've said it 100 times before. Like, Warner Brothers can't get their shit together, so now therefore DC can't get their shit together, and they're sitting on a gold mine and they're just twiddling their thumbs, wasting their time, blowing out chunks of gold with dynamite instead of, like, meticulously mining this gold, and it's just dragging everything we know through the mud. Aside from the comics, like, I don't know what's going on with comics, but hopefully it's okay. Hopefully everything's all right in the comic book side of DC. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's run separately. I mean, Warner Brothers doesn't really have much of a say in that, or if any, as far as I know. But yeah, it's just a weird thing. Like, and it's not really that odd, because we've known, right? We've known how dysfunctional DC's been for all this time, and again, it would take me 5 hours or longer to tell you every intricate detail of why things are the way they are now, and why a movie like Shazam: Fury of the Gods didn't do well at the box office, but it all rolls up to the thesis of Warner Brothers, right?
Yeah.
And the funniest thing is, right, like, the fans, if you read, like, if you see these articles on Facebook or wherever about how the movie failed and about how this happened and that happened, and the movie's bad or whatever, and critics hated it, and Rotten Tomatoes, it has a low score from critics. If you read the responses, 95% of them say they love the movie. And that's going to bring us to our discussion about it, where I say I love the movie.
Yeah, I didn't love it, but I thought it was a good time. Like, it was fun to go out, and it'd be like a good movie to go out into theaters and see, and that's all that really matters. And
yeah,
I enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun. There's, you could argue that the villains were kind of, run of the mill, like nothing special.
I had that thought too, but I'm just like, how many Marvel movies have I seen now where the villain is just run of the mill, nothing special, generic white military dude who's like, oh, I gotta use the military gun machine to shoot the guys and save the day. You don't understand, Cap, my power. And,
yeah, and people can argue whatever they want about the Daughters of Atlas being convoluted or whatever it is, right? Like, but overall, like, it's not the overarching story that is great about the movie. It's just the moment to moment stuff. It's the beats of the story. It's the emotional climaxes of the story intermingled just with fun, right? Like, it's just fun. Like, there's a lot of jokes. It's not overpowering, in my opinion. Which again was another big opinion piece I saw about how Shazam 2 is making the same mistake Marvel movies make, and making everything about humor and blah blah blah. And it, like, I just always go back to this idea, or, like, for me, my personal, like, viewpoint on movies with a lot of humor is there's usually some really heavy hitting things happening in those movies, and you have to balance that out somehow.
Yeah.
And I get it, like you don't need a quip every 5 seconds and all this shit, but like it's not gonna resonate with everybody the same. But for a movie like Shazam that deals with what's the word, like found family and the foster system and different things like that, that stuff is really emotional in general, and even more emotional to people who have experienced it.
Yeah.
And you have to find a way to balance those things. And this was my point with Thor Love and Thunder as well. Yeah, they did way overdo the humor in that movie, and I don't feel like it necessarily undercut the serious moments, but like you're dealing with cancer. And like nothing is really more serious than cancer. Like everybody understands cancer. Everybody. So when you're dealing with that, yeah, Jane is really awkward and some of the humor doesn't land and some of it is overplayed, but you need to have that in a movie where you're dealing that heavily with something like cancer.
Yeah.
So this movie was similar to me. I laughed a lot. I had fun. I cried a little bit. It was good. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I didn't cry, but I did think it was really entertaining to watch. I enjoyed. I'm glad that I have to drive out, like not an insane distance, but it's about an hour drive to go, like see a movie with you. So I'm glad we got to do that and chill and hang out with the boy, with our friend, the boy,
the boy,
and the boy, and we got to hang out, just chill. And it was great, and the movie was right. There were some jokes that just flatlined completely, and there were some jokes that were absolutely hilarious, and like all the acting was great. The effects were, the effects standard for superhero movies, especially one that was like kind of, I think, written off probably as a loss. That's what I just think, probably.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I'm glad that I saw it, but I don't think it was like the most amazing home superhero movie I've ever seen. But again, it was really entertaining and. Sure, it was sweet and stuff like that, but I've seen a lot of movies that have to deal with like orphans and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. I mean, Batman's an orphan, but
yeah,
I mean, it's not like he wasn't taken in like that, except by Alfred, and you don't get a lot of great Alfred Bruce scenes in a lot of different Batman movies for some reason. You get some for sure, but
yeah, not a whole lot.
But yeah, I mean. There's not a whole lot to talk about with Shazam 2 because ultimately, again, like, I'm an advocate for the idea that like the movie doesn't have to lead to something in order for people to watch it and enjoy it, and just like back in the day when people would just go see one-off movies because they wanted to see that movie, you can still do that with this movie, but that's not the world we live in anymore. I'm talking to nobody. I'm talking to ghosts, because the reality is people go to see these movies because they're invested in the world. Yeah. And this world is changing, despite the fact that
the lore.
Despite the fact that James Gunn's wife is in the post-credit scene and all this stuff, like that was a last-minute thing. It doesn't mean anything necessarily. The Mr. Mind and Dr. Savannah post-credit scene ultimately doesn't necessarily mean anything. They could choose to go back to these things and whatever. Again, spoiler alert, the Wonder Woman cameo doesn't necessarily mean anything. Yeah. Doesn't mean that Gal Gadot's going to come back and be a part of James Gunn world. It could, but we don't know any of that. And people who like these movies aren't always necessarily as knowledgeable about them as we are, because we talk about it, right? Like, we understand the timeline and when James Gunn took over and how all this stuff happens. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people go to see these movies with no news. And then in the future, when Wonder Woman never shows up again and Shazam never shows up again, they think, what the fuck, man? Like, I invested in this shit, and where are these characters?
Yeah.
Right? So, it's a difficult thing, right? It's a difficult time period for DC. I mean, it has been for the past decade. But it's unfortunate. I mean, they're trying to recoup their investments probably with films like Shazam, and who knows. My prediction is that Blue Beetle won't do great either, despite the fact that I quite like the character. I don't know about Aquaman 2. Aquaman 1 made over $1 billion, so you would expect it to make at least 800 mil, but you don't know because it comes out around Christmas and test screenings say it's not good, and Amber Heard and all these other factors, and again
Yeah.
James Gunn is
So
taking
much
over.
drama.
I think The Flash will do well because it's The Flash and has Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck, who also did an interview recently. I don't know about you. I hate Ben Affleck as a person. I think he's an okay actor. I did like his Batman and his Daredevil, but other than that, I'm not a fan.
I don't say I'd hate him as a person, but I do say like it's just when you hear actor, when people say like I don't want to, I just need to have complete control of my own projects and stuff like that. And when you've been an actor for it's been in the scene for so long, it kind of doesn't work like that at all. So it's just a strange, strange way of going about it.
Yeah,
Is like how I would put it.
yeah. I mean, yeah, he had some pretty interesting things to say. I don't think he's a fan of comic book movies or comic book characters. He pretty much said like he's done wearing sweaty rubber suits, standing in front of green screens for hours.
I don't blame him for that either.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but he could just do it like how you're kind of supposed to do it when you walk out of a specific part of your industry, which is like like I don't like doing this because I think that it's like dumb and I don't like doing that, and so I'm not gonna do it anymore. And then you walk away, but still like just being involved in the drama is not any. It's not fun. It's not a good way of doing
no.
it.
He did confirm he is not going to be directing a movie in James Gunn's DC universe.
Yep.
And he, I think he really enjoyed working with Zack Snyder. And talked about the kind of the fuckery of Warner Brothers and what they were doing. And he said some other stuff too. But ultimately, he's done with that. He talked about the Flash movie. He said he's not in a lot of it. I don't know if that was he wasn't supposed to say that, but he pretty much said he's in about 10 minutes of the movie, and he felt like that was the first time he really felt like he learned how to play that character properly. So, but yeah, I mean, like back to the Flash in general. I think it'll do fine just because of the Batman's in the movie. I don't think people really want to see it because of Ezra Miller. And then yeah, I don't know about Blue Beetle. That's a toss up.
Yeah, well, let's have to wait and see what happens when it comes out. There's so many
Yeah.
ways. There's so many ways it could go, and it's just you know.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how many people are going to care about the fact that it's not Bill Cord, Blue Beetle. I don't think it matters that much because, again, like if you think about Ant-Man, similar, they went with Scott Lang first. They didn't just do Hank Pym, right? And so it's like kind of the same thing. They're not doing a Bill Cord. They're doing Jaime Reyes, I believe. But yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows? Like it sucks we have to be like this with like Warner because of Warner Brothers. We don't know what's going on with some of our favorite characters. So it's something we like to keep bringing up. Nobody really cared about Marvel. Marvel was kind of the underdog of comics until Iron Man came out, and then the MCU exploded, and here we are a decade later, 2 decades later. One's on top, one's still trying to get their shit together, and it sucks because I want to see like cool Justice League movies because I grew up like watching Justice League Unlimited and the Justice League, all those movies, and they were great.
Yeah.
And, we can't have things that we like anymore. So,
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, yeah. I don't know. It'll definitely be interesting to see what they do with Blue Beetle. And yes, for people who maybe are upset that I talked about Ted Kord and Jaime Reyes and didn't mention Dan Garrett. Yes, Dan Garrett was the original Blue Beetle from 1939. Nobody cares. Nobody's going back that far. So, I mean, someone might care, but I don't care. But yeah, I don't know. I really liked Shazam too. I thought it was better than the first one. I thought it was better than Black Adam.
Mm.
I don't know if anybody agrees with that, but I mean, I think like story wise, neither are amazing, but Black Adam's story is actual dog shit and makes no sense.
I think the action in Black Adam was a little bit better, though. I
I
think that's
agree.
about,
I agree.
yeah,
The action in Black Adam was a little better, but the film lacked heart and
or and everything else, acting,
yeah, yeah.
any
Uh,
acting, like
and,
at all. Like I
yeah.
don't think there was a single drop of acting in that movie.
And I feel like Shazam 2 had a lot of heart, and it was, you can say the action and the fun were similar,
Mm.
uh, but ultimately, I think it just, for me personally, it worked better. And maybe it's just because I enjoy the character of Shazam more. I understand there's probably an argument out there that because I noticed it too, when he's Shazam,
Mm.
he acts like he's 12, whereas when he's Billy, he's 17.
Yeah, I think that is one big disconnect that was bothering me. I'm glad you picked up on that too.
I mean, I get it. Like, t- even though there's quite a gulf, especially in how much you grow between 12 and 17, the humor of a 17-year-old is kind of similar, right? Like,
Mm.
it's like you're very immature still at 17, so you're still gonna make those really immature jokes and like whatever. But like there were moments where it's like, are you 14? Are you 12? Or are you 17? But mostly it's like, obviously part of him is still written as if he's 17 because he's dealing with a lot of internal trauma
Mm.
and things like that, where a 12-year-old isn't trying to process that or understand that, right? Like they would just like react like how Omega acts in Bad Batch, which is like everything's changing. Oh my god, life sucks.
Yep.
I'm sad. I'm gonna
Yep.
lash out at people. You know.
Yeah.
But there is in moments a disconnect with the age. So
No doubt about that, and I picked up on that too. It's just one of those things where I think the biggest thing where it came through was where he was like pretending to use his lightning hands to like shoot like they were guns, those bottles at that post credit scene. I'm like, man, he's acting like a 10-year-old in this scene. I don't know why he's got to do that because he doesn't like act like this when he's
yeah.
like an edgy 17-year-old dude.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really what it is. It's not so much in his dialogue that's young, it's his like actions.
Mm.
Like the way he carries himself kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, like the things he does, it makes him seem way younger than 17. But the infatuation with Wonder Woman makes sense. I mean, even at 17,
Because she's got good, she's beautiful. Look at her.
Yeah.
That end scene, bro. I was like, damn, that costume looks like they made the skirt a little shorter.
Yeah.
kind of looks like that. Not gonna lie.
I mean, but it's still cool seeing her, and it's weird the fact that like these cameos are like surprising because it's like before, if these worlds are supposed to be like interconnected, like why wouldn't you allow them to do that?
Yeah.
Like, but whatever contracts and the way movies work, I get it, but yeah. Overall, I really like the movie. It sucks that it's not gonna do well in theaters. Like 30 million opening weekend is really bad.
Hmm.
It's just bad. Like
Yeah.
a Marvel movie does that on the opening Thursday.
Yeah.
So for a full weekend, 30 million is pretty bad. It'll probably make its money back. Luckily, because it had a pretty low budget of like 100 million, which I know you guys think is not low, but for a movie of this size, it is very low. I think it cost way more than that for Black Adam, like 250 or 300 million for Black Adam.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I'm not gonna say it's better, but I actually enjoyed Shazam 2 more than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. What do you think about that?
I'm gonna skid away from you. I'm gonna skid away from you on that one. I like Quantumaniacs was kind of weird and Star Warsy, so maybe
Yeah,
I'm
it was.
biased. So I really enjoyed that part of it, and again, like those cool like robot houses were like awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I mean, in Kang, Kang.
yeah, and King
Kang
was
was
cool
pretty
as
great.
hell.
Yeah.
He was pretty cool.
So, um, there are moments in Quantumania that are just really great and like feel kind of Shakespearean in a way.
Mm.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the gravitas of Jonathan Majors' performance as Kang.
Yeah,
But
very powerful presence.
yeah, yeah. I I mean the biggest problem that Marvel films have had is just that their messaging like is buried so deep in their plots that nobody really gets it. You
Yeah.
know, like instead you have all this surface level humor and fun and crazy and oh my god, scary bad guys. But like the point, like we talked about it, the point of that movie was that Scott is he kind of has imposter syndrome, right? And
Yeah.
he has to prove to everybody that he is the Avenger that he's been claiming to be, like he truly is. And that's kind of like the messaging, but again, it's buried under all this stuff. Just like the messaging from Doctor Strange 2 is he has to learn to let go. He has to learn to let other people make big decisions, and it's not all about him. But again, that's buried under all this stuff. And so,
Yeah.
like, people don't necessarily get or care about those themes because, well, it's wrapped in this weird package that wasn't as good as Endgame. It's like, all right, thanks. You can't just compare everything to like the most successful thing someone's ever done because then you'll hate everything. But
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, we're half an hour in, so if you want, we can move on to the Mandalorian.
Yeah, sure.
Um, so episode 3 was last week. I watched it. You watched it. Episode 4
Yep.
is today. I haven't watched it because I just got home before I started this.
I also have not watched it.
Yeah, but man, episode 3 was a weird one.
Yeah, it was very strange how it was almost kind of like Andor in a way. Um,
Yeah, but it feels out of place in a show like The Mandalorian.
yeah.
Like it, so again we're going to talk about spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, you can tune out. But essentially, you have this weird Coruscant story sandwiched between very good scenes with Bo-Katan in The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how to feel about it because it's like it was kind of boring, but it was kind of interesting. But like I don't know why I care about this scientist and the amnesty program. And then like this takes place 5 to 10 years after the Battle of Endor, and they're talking about cloning again, and then they're talking about cloning in the Bad Batch, which takes place like 10 years before A New Hope, and I'm just like, are they trying to connect these things? I don't know what's happening. How do you feel? How do you feel about this?
The story is weird. Is weird 'cause I like the story actually a little bit. I think it's supposed to be kind of like giving a giving a nod to the potential re-rising of Moff Gideon or whatever. But we don't know that until it's confirmed. And again, like it is very strange. It's such a strange story that's completely really disconnected from everything aside from the connection to the child. Is that guy once was doing experiments on the child? That's it.
Yeah.
So it's a weird one, man. I don't know what else to say. Like, we'll just have to wait and see. Let's watch tonight's episode, see how it goes, and see if it just keeps connecting.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those things where either with the context of the whole season, it's gonna be you're gonna look back and say, "Wow, that was actually a really good episode," or it's like to me, it's like Drake's music. Like the first time you listen to a Drake song, it's dog shit. But like if you're forced to listen to it over and over again, eventually you're like, it's kind of good. Like I feel like maybe that's how that episode is. Like if you just watch it again, like with a renewed mind, you're like, oh, it's actually pretty good. You know? Was that a hot take?
Potentially, it also depends on your own personal taste.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, no, like so you have like this great, these great scenes where, like Bo-Katan in the Mandalorian like end up going back to her world, but they're being chased by TIE interceptors. They take them out. Then they get to her homeworld, and then there's a bunch of TIE bombers, and they're just blowing up her home and stuff. And you're like, holy shit, man! Like that's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah.
And then you just cut to and do all this Coruscant storyline about the amnesty program and people who were a part of the Empire being reintegrated back into society or getting jobs with the New Republic. And it's like some of that stuff is interesting, but then you're like, you're kind of always thinking like, what's the point of all this? And like you end up with your main guy, your main scientist guy being betrayed, and it's pretty interesting at certain points. And you kind of expect it the whole time, to be honest. I mean, at least I kind of did. I don't know if you were like,
I was expecting her to betray him, but not in that way. I thought it was like the Republic trying to screw him over, not, the old Imperials trying to screw him over. That's what I thought was going on. Like, I thought the Republic was trying to, like, egg him on or something like that so they could make a political statement, but you never know these, because you never really know these days. So
yeah, it kind of reminded me, when you mentioned Andor, of what's his name, Cyril, the like disgraced like military leader, or what? Not military, like he was
that
like,
officer guy.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of him. Like he ended up like living back with his mom, and he's like doing like this work and shit. Like kind of reminded me of that a little bit.
Yeah.
But then like at the end, we go back to the Mandalorian and Bo-Katan. I don't remember what happened though. They went back to where all the Mandalorians were, and she got welcomed. Essentially, she is now redeemed as well, because she hasn't taken her helmet off since she went into the waters below Mandalore. And I like this stuff, right? Like our old boss at when we worked at the harbor, what I'm talking about. He texted me about the Mandalorian. And like it's kind of odd because like I haven't talked to him in years, really.
Yeah.
And that's not like either of our fault. I mean, it could be my fault. I don't really talk to people, honestly. But I like him. He's a great guy, and he has a great family, and all that good stuff. But he had asked me why Bo-Katan didn't tell him about the mythosaur. And I saw an article about this later, but I hadn't seen it when I responded to him. Because my interpretation of it was that she didn't tell Din Djarin about the mythosaur because in the episode prior, she pretty much said they're a myth, like they don't exist, right? And she didn't want to tell him there was a mythosaur down there that you didn't see because she is still coming to terms with her belief system being called into question. And that comes back around at the end when she gets welcomed into that tribe, because now she feels like she's potentially a part of something, even if it's something she doesn't believe in. But at the same time, she's questioning all of her beliefs because she didn't believe in the healing powers of the mines below Mandalore. She didn't believe in the mythosaurs. And now her entire worldview is being called into question.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I said. And then I read the article, and Katie Sackhoff said she doesn't truly know what she saw because she's questioning, like if she truly saw it or not, which essentially is because she's calling into question her own beliefs at that point. And she's not ready to admit she saw something because she can't admit it to herself necessarily. Similar things, but I found all that very interesting. And then the middle part of the episode in the Coruscant, it is interesting, but it's like at parts I was bored a little bit. But again, it's like one of those things where if I watched it again, I'd probably really enjoy it.
I think that was a problem with like the Coruscant stuff. So I watched it again. Some of it would just be quite boring. Like it was really intense, and that guy's that's the guy who plays Daredevil, right? What's his name?
No, it's not Charlie Cox.
Oh, I thought it looks a lot like him. You should look up what that guy's name is because he's a really good actor.
The Mandalorian Dr. Pershing. Markham Shankar.
Oh.
Yeah. I think he's Middle Eastern, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he's good. He's a good actor.
He was in a show called The Mentalist. Never watched that. Wait, is his name Omid Abtahi, and he played Markham Shankar? What the... Man, people are so racist. Omid up. Yeah, he's Iranian. Geez, when I look up Dr. Pershing, it tells me the actor's name is Markham Shankar, but that's the character he played on The Mentalist. These people are so racist. His name is Omid Abtahi. He's Iranian. Anyway, sorry guys. Persian. Oh, they give you the Persian spelling. He's an Iranian-American actor, best known for his role as Salem in American Gods. Oh, he's in American Gods. I didn't finish American Gods, the TV show. I read the book. Love the book. But yeah, he went to Cal State Fullerton. Cool. He voiced a person in Black Ops 2. And someone in Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Yeah. He was born in Tehran, Iran. Moved to Paris when he was 5. And then moved to Orange County when he was 10. So. But yeah, I can see that he looks kind of like Charlie Cox, but he's much more brown, you know? So if Charlie Cox got a tan and got a little thinner. But yeah, I think he has a very good performance in the show.
Yeah, this is really good. Like, he's carrying it very well.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that to look out for, how his story is ultimately going to connect to Din Djarin's story. But again, I mean, to your point, it's probably going to be because Kalia, I think Kalia, her name is, who betrayed him. Ultimately, she's probably still working for Moff Gideon.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to tie back to that because Moff Gideon might want to use him in his research for his own purposes. So, ultimately, that's probably where it's going to lead. I don't know if you have any predictions or thoughts on that.
I think it's just going to come back to Moff Gideon reveal. Maybe he'll be like half cyborg or something like that. We know cyborgs exist in the Star Wars universe. So maybe something like that will come around and he'll like get the dark. I don't know. So this, yeah, like, I really don't know.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell.
Yep. It's a wait and see for now. I'm excited, for today's episode at least.
Same.
But just to end off, we'll briefly talk about the Bad Batch, the Crosshair episode. In previous talks, I was complaining there's not enough Crosshair in this season.
There it is.
So we finally got a Crosshair episode, and then we got hey, I'm a pirate, but I'm not really a pirate, and hey, I'll help you escape Sid episode. So did you watch both of those? Or did you only watch the Crosshair one?
I watched both of those episodes.
Yeah.
The Crosshair one was definitely the better of the few.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of probably the best episodes of the season so far. I don't know. I like
it. It felt like it had such a high quality. Like the music was really like very orchestral. Yeah,
the music was good. That was another thing. Back to the Mandalorian. When they're in Coruscant, when they're like in the part of like this town square kind of thing, if you listen to the music, it's part of John Williams' score from one of the sequel movies. I think it's March of the Resistance that's playing, but I don't remember the exact song. But it's just weird to hear a song from a Star Wars movie being played in universe in Star Wars.
Yeah.
But that was pretty cool. But yeah, there was high quality music in the Crosshair episode, and it's just like more interesting stuff about the transition from, the Republic to the Empire, and now clones going away, and like just the most awful people imaginable who are put in charge of this shit. They don't give a shit about the clones. Like they only care about, their inventories and shit, and like they just treat everyone like garbage and don't care. And it's like, it's sad, but you also understand that like this is kind of a reality at times, right? But I found the episode to be really enjoyable. It's good to see Crosshair also becoming kind of like, disenamored or whatever the word is with the Empire. Like, There's a word for it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's disillusioned.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he's become
Disillusioned.
disillusioned. Like he's undoing his own programming on his own essentially at this point.
Yeah. And it's fantastic. Like, you know, you have this piece of shit like Imperial lieutenant who's just like barking orders and like I don't care. You have to go back and get these crates that got stolen, even though like all your people have died. It's just you left. Like you and Crosshair go fuck off, and like they end up going through this perilous mission. They're unable to get the crates because of snowstorms and everything else, and like they get injured, and motherfucker he carries this dude all the way back to base, and this lieutenant's like, where are the crates? Hey, blah blah blah. You guys are clones. I hate you. And like Crosshair's like, yo, this motherfucker is dying. Can we get him a like a medvac or some shit? Like, can we help him? And he's like, fuck off. You'll get nothing. And like then Crosshair just shoots him. It's pretty brilliant.
Yep.
I loved it. So there was that, and then there was this episode where, they don't want to go back to Sid. They're on the run, the Bad Batch that is, and they're working with a liberator of ancient artifacts, aka a pirate, and she brings them to like this kind of like paradise world where everything's great, and it's hard to find, and the Empire definitely will never show up there, and Sid can't never find them there surely. There's a bunch of refugees, and then a big tidal wave thing happens and destroys half of their village, and they're like, we'll stick around and help you rebuild, and that's it. I mean, it was an okay episode. I didn't hate it or anything, but when you just watch the Crosshair episode, you're like, yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, same. Like after that, watching that episode was just really boring and samey. Like it just made such a short impact on me. Like that, I didn't care about it at all. And I just was like, again, I watched both the Crosshair episode and then that episode. Like you're right, it's just a complete fall off a cliff. Like you just don't.
Yeah, but I saw the thumbnail for today's episode, and Crosshair is in it. So good. There's some hope.
There's some hope.
Some hope for a great episode.
Yeah, I gotta watch them tonight for sure.
Yeah, I've been. I started rewatching the X-Men '92 cartoon. It's just so good. Like, I remember watching like that and like Spider-Man, the Spider-Man animated cartoon as a kid, and like I rewatched a lot of the Spider-Man one, and like some of the episodes are kind of boring or whatever. Like, I love Spider-Man. Hey, like I got Spider-Man on my shirt. I love Spider-Man, but like the X-Men cartoon is just on another level. It's just so good.
Yeah.
So if you guys haven't watched it, I would highly recommend it. It's all on Disney Plus, and X-Men '97, which is going to be essentially a sequel that it's going to be coming out in the next couple years or next year or so. Like it's so yeah, watch it if you haven't. But yeah, I mean that's everything. We'll end a little early, and look forward to the future. The Super Mario movie's coming out. I don't know when we'll see that. I don't think we'll see it together because I'm not going opening night, and I'm pretty sure you said you're going to see it with family, I think.
No, I'm going to probably... Well, maybe my sister will want to see it when it comes out. Maybe, and that's a maybe. That's a big maybe. I just don't know.
Yeah.
So I'll just have to wait and see. I'm seeing the Dungeons and Dragons movie for sure, so I'll report back on that one. But that's
that one had an early access release yesterday, but I didn't want to go.
And some people were saying it's like really good. So
yeah. I mean, I'll definitely probably see it. And I have a friend who's recently gotten really into D&D. And he's like making characters and everything, and like he wants to get together and do a D&D night at some point.
Good for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played D&D in a long time, and when I did, I always preferred to play more themed D&Ds, like Star Wars D&D or Lord of the Rings, like kind of themed things. Because there's lots of fun scenarios you can do in there, like like Star Wars, like you're a stormtrooper, your ship's under attack, like and go through this whole thing of what you would do and how you would solve those situations. Like I always enjoyed those things. Yeah, but just in general, if you have a good dungeon master, D&D can be really fun.
Yeah. Well, you need good players too. That's also kind of important.
Oh yeah, I'm trash player. I'm trash.
No, you got to try your hardest to be good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, definitely we'll see D&D, and then I mean, there's so many movies coming out. I don't know what the next like comic book movie is. It's got to be The Flash or something.
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
no, not the Flash because we just saw Shazam, but they think they're gonna try to space it out, right? Ugh.
the Flash is in June or May, one of those things.
Oh,
June, June or July actually.
that's really close.
Yeah. Isn't there another Marvel movie? I thought there's three this year.
The Marvels or
The
something like
Marvels
that.
is in November. I thought there was another one in like May or something.
Are they doing another Shang-Chi soon?
Not for a while. I don't know why. They should be, but I predict it'll be like 2025. But yeah, I thought there was another one coming out this year, or a series or something. I don't know. We have the Mandalorian. Okay, guys, we have some stuff. We have some content, there's a lot of movies coming out this month. Like there's John Wick, and there's D&D, and there's Shazam, and there's a whole bunch of other shit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, thank you guys. Anybody who's tuned in, who's listened, who likes what we do,
Chill.
make sure
Yep.
you follow. You can follow the Twitch channel. You can follow or subscribe on any of the podcast platforms you like to listen to us on. You can rate or review. There's YouTube content as well. Usually it's just this re-uploaded, but sometimes there's like little clips or whatever if you just want to watch those. There's a whole bunch. You can follow TikTok. We don't have an account. I just have a personal account. I'm not even going to list it, so I don't know why I said it. But yeah, much love. Have a good one, and yeah, see ya next time. Bye.